Okay, welcome to week 7. This week we're going to cover the first half of Chapter 9, and Chapter 9 gets more into this thing called wrapper classes. Now, we talked about primitives, what primitives are. Primitives are those data types that represent an actual data. So, a float actually represents the number 32.6. Okay, that's exactly what basically resides in memory. Where all of our other data classes are relative, meaning they kind of point to the address of that particular item, and basically it kind of defines what that item can handle. So wrapper class is a an it's a class. Remember, classes have variables and they have methods. So each class has a set of instance variables and a bunch of methods. So we can take these classes and wrap it around a primitive, and then basically we have a whole bunch of variables and methods to use on that particular item. So that's kind of what a wrapper class is made up of. So page 562 talks about the character testing with the character class. Now when we talk about classes, remember the rule about classes are classes always start with an uppercase letter. So we can have a lowercase char or we can have an uppercase C character, and that's class. Char is the primitive, the character is a class. So if you look there, we basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different methods that return a Boolean data type. So if you were to see that particular method, it would basically have public Boolean, in this case is digit, and we're going to basically pass it a char. So is digits, basically we can actually get a char and use the wrapper class around it, and we can determine whether it is a digit 0 through 9. We can say, is it a letter? That means it's going to basically be textual. Is it a letter or a digit? Okay, so letters or digits. Is it lowercase? That's cool. So if it's a letter, is it a lowercase letter? And that will tell us yet true or false. Uppercase, same thing. Is a space char. It says returns true if the argument passed to char is a space character. Otherwise, it's false. And we have is a white space. Returns true if the argument passed is a white space character, which is a space, tab, or new line character. Okay, so those are non-printable characters. Spaces, tabs, new lines, those types of things. So if we take a look at the very first program there, example, character test.java 563. So I go ahead and open that guy up. There we can see we're bringing a J option pane, and there's our class character test, and it's a void main, so it is basically executable. So basically say enter any single character, and I throw that into C, which is a char. So char C can only handle one character, one byte. So we come in here and say if character dot is letter char. Look at that. I can use this character natively. I don't have to instantiate or anything. It's already instantiated because it's part of the Java util. So is letter char. So basically I'm saying use this class, use this method of this class, and give it this char variable, and it will return true or false. So again, if we look is letter, it says returns a true if the argument passed to the char is an alphabetic letter, otherwise it returns false. So if it is a letter, it will come back and say that is a letter. If the char is a digit, it will say this is a digit. If is it lowercase, is it uppercase, is it a space, is it a white space? So a whole lot of different things we can put in there. So if we were to run this thing, it comes up and it says enter any single space. So I type in a G, I click OK, and it comes up and says this is a letter. It is a lowercase letter, and that's it. So I can run it again. I'm going to type a space. Click OK, and it comes up and says that is a space. It is also a white space, because remember, white space is space, tab, and a new line character. Can I get a tab in there? If I hit tab, I don't think it's going to work. How do an alt tab? No, it doesn't work either. So basically, kind of just, if I do a tab, no, it just goes back over the, so anyways, so we basically aren't able to do that. We would have to get some type of a tab character in order to do that. So yeah, so it gave me an exception there. So anyway, so that's basically what the character methods, so we can check to see, is a char an actual letter? Is it a numeric value? Is it a space? All different types of things there. So that's pretty cool there as well. Let's take a look at customer number. And if we look at this guy, so here we have a customer number. It's got a void main, so it's basically executable. String input, so we're basically creating an input string data type. And I'm going to go ahead and get the input from that guy. And I am going to say enter a customer number in the form of LLL new line, and then LLL are letters, NNN are numbers. And then I'm going to say if is valid input. What the heck is invalid? Well, or I'm sorry, is valid. Well, if you look, it is italicized, so that tells me it is a method within this class. So if I scroll down, sure enough, there's is valid, and we're passing a string customer number. So then I got Boolean good so far is equal to true. Now it's kind of nice because we're saying, hey, we're good so far, keep continuing on. Okay, and as soon as we get to the point where something's bad, we basically turned out to false. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say we're good so far because we haven't checked anything, so we're good so far. And we're going to go ahead and say inti is equal to 0, so we're initializing this variable to 0. So if customer number length, look at that, cust number, since it's string, we do have a length method, and we could say is it not equal 7? If it's not equal 7, or if it's not equal 7, good so far equals false, meaning we are expecting a 7 character customer number. So if it's anything but 7, boom, get out of here. While good so far, that's said it has to be true, and I is less than 3. So what's that saying there? Well, if not character, so look, here's our character class, is a letter, customer number dot char at I. Remember, I has been set to 0, so we're looking at the very first character. We say good so far equals false. Okay, so if it's not equal to, we do that. Now, I myself don't like knots. I don't like knots because they're so hard to understand. If not characters letter, okay, so if the way I could like to get rid of those is I like to come over here and do this. Now, this I feel is more readable. So if we look at this, it says if the character dot is letter customer number char at that particular at the 0 position, we're okay. We come down here, we add 1 to I. We come back around this loop. If the character position at char I is a letter, we're good to go there too. We keep going around. If any one of those first 3 letters are not letters, we go ahead and set good so far equal to false, and we back out of here. We're done at that point. And then we say, well, good so far, and while I is less than 7, well, I is setting at 2 right now, right? No, I'm sorry, we're setting at 3. Why? Because if we go through this 1, 2, and we go to the 3rd time, we increase the I by 1, we come back up, we're now sitting at 3, we're sitting at 3, and we drop out. We come down, I is now sitting at 3, which is actually the 4th position. So we basically do the same thing again. We got not logic there. I don't like that. I don't want to change it. I just want to let you know. Now we're checking to see if it is a digit. So the first 3 characters are letters, the next 4 are numbers. And then basically once we get that set, Good so far is going to, it starts as true. At any time we basically get something bad, we set it to false and we basically get out. We go ahead and return that. So back up here, I'll say if is valid, that means it's going to return true or false. And if it is true, it goes ahead and says that's a valid customer number, else we show that is not a proper format of a customer number. Here is an example, ABC1234. So pretty cool there. So if we run this and I go ahead and type in DDD1234 and I click OK, it says that's a valid customer number. I run it again, and this time I'm going to type in XX4 and then 1234. I click OK, and it says that is not the proper format. It must be ABC123. So there's so pretty cool stuff there. So able to go through one character at a time and use the methods of the character wrapper. It's a character class, and utilize those so that we can then see what each letter basically is supposed to handle. So not too bad, pretty good stuff there as well. So we do have a way to convert one character to upper or lower case. So again, if I bring that up, let's see. So I come over here, and here I have character case conversion. So I come over here, so it looks like the character class, which is a wrapper class, it looks like I can take one char and say two lowercase, passing it to char, or two uppercase. Okay, so here I've got sysout println character dot two uppercase. Now it doesn't change that. In this particular case, it's just taking that character, converting it to uppercase, and displaying it. I'd have to set it to upper lowercase and then save it again. So if we take a look at the circle, so here's the circle example. The circle area, yeah. So here I've got my public static void main. Here I've got a double called radius, another double called area, a string called input, and a char called choice. So here I say do. Notice there's nothing attached to the do, so that means we're going to do this at least once, because down here the while has to check, so that's where the check happens. That's where it's going to basically drop in or continue on through the loop. So I go ahead and say enter the circle's radius. I get the radius from the keyboard as a next double, so it's expecting a double. And then I say the area is equal to math.pi. This is something kind of cool. Well, we don't have to bring in the math class. It's already available to us. So the API math is already built in, so any one of the math items we can use. So I say math.pi, which happens to be 3.14159, probably a big old number, times the radius, whatever we typed in, times the radius. Okay, so, and that's going to be equal to, and then whatever basically the 2f, which is going to be the area, new line, and basically put that out. And do you want to do this again? Why or no? Well, when we're accepting something from the user, we have to be careful, because it can be an uppercase or lowercase y or uppercase n. So